should help you get ready for the test over equations and inequalities. If you understand everything in this video, you'll do just fine on tomorrow's test. So here we have two different equations being modeled. So let's talk about the first one. On the first one, we have two x's over here. So that would be 2x, 2 multiplied times x. And it equals, and on the right hand side we have negatives, and we have 8 of them. So our equation here would be 2x equals negative 8. There's a couple of ways you could solve this. One is that you could break up the x's into groups, equal groups. And you notice that each group has 4 negatives in it. Or you could just solve it this way. You could divide both sides by 2. That's going to cancel out, leaving just x. And negative 8 divided by 2 equals negative 4. So in this problem, x would equal negative 4. In the other equation, you've got an x, and then you've got some positives next to it. So that would be x plus 5, because there's 5 positives there with x. And then it equals, on the right-hand side, you have 8, and you have positives this time. So positive 8. You want to get x by itself, so you could get rid of these. If you do that to one side, you have to do the same thing on the other side. So if I were to get rid of 5 over here, we're left with x on this side and then 3 on that side. Again, you could also solve it just the regular way. You could take 5 away from both sides, because plus 5 and minus 5 equals 0. That cancels out, leaving just x, and 8 minus 5 is 3. Okay. Okay, so our next problem. Skip one? Yes, I did. Okay, so the next problem is an inequality, and you need to solve it. It says solve, and it says graph. So you have to solve first, then graph. So we want to get y by itself, and to get rid of these negatives, we can cancel out negatives with positives. So I'm going to add 4 positives to both sides, because negative 4 and positive 4 equals 0. So that's gone. That leaves just y on that side. My symbol is going to stay exactly the same. And then here I've got negative 7 and positive 4. Different signs, we find the difference. Sorry about that, which is 3. And we have more negatives, so it's negative 3. So that's our answer. Now we need to graph it. So we're going to have a circle on negative 3, and because it has a line under it, remember, if it has a line, it needs a mouth guard. So that means it's going to have a closed circle because it includes negative 3. And remember that your symbol points you in the right direction. So because that one points left, we're going to shade everything to the left on that number line. So that would be our answer for that one. Now, if it had just said less than without the line under it, we would have done an open circle. And if it had been either greater than or equal to, we would have gone right because it would have been pointing to the right. Okay. Next one is telling the difference between the inequality language. So remember that we've got our less than symbol, we've got our greater than symbol, and then we've got less than or equal to, and we've got greater than or equal to. So above means more than or over, and so that's going to match with your greater than symbol. Fewer is just another way of saying less, so that's less than. Those are the easier ones, okay? The ones that are going to be on your test are the harder ones, the ones with the or equal to. So let's look at maximum. If your mom sends you to the mall and says that you can spend a maximum of $50, she doesn't want you going over $50. She wants you staying under $50, or you could spend the whole $50. So maximum means less than or equal to. And then at least. If the ride at the amusement park says you have to be at least 48 inches tall, they want you to be 48 or more. So you could be greater than 48 or you could be equal to 48. So those are the ones that match each other. Okay, if they give you an equation and they ask you which scenario matches, The best plan is to first actually solve the equation. So if we see multiplication, we need to divide both sides because that's going to cancel out that 3 and leave just x. And 60 divided by 3 is 20. So everywhere where I see an x, I'm going to know that that needs to be 20. Here I see that. And here's an x over here. That's going to be 20. And this one right here is going to be 20. That way when you're reading these, instead of having an x, you have an actual number. And that's supposed to say 20. Let's erase that. Let's make that look a little bit better. 20. That looks more like 20. Okay, so Ray had 3 quarters. His mother gave him 20 more quarters. Now he has 60 quarters. That doesn't make sense. If he had 3 and she gave him 20 more, he would have 23. So that can't be our answer. This one over here says he saved 3 quarters one week and 20 quarters the next week. Now he has a total of 60 quarters. Again, if he had 3 and then he saved 20 more, he has 23, not 60. So that doesn't work either. If I come down here, he had 60, he spent 20, now he has 3 left. That doesn't work out. If you have 60 and you spend 20, you should have 40 left. So that one's not right. This one says Ray earns 3 quarters for each of the 20 chores he does. Ray earns a total of 20 quarters. That one checks out because each means multiply in this case because each chore is getting you 3. So 3 for the first one, 3 for the second one, 3 for the third one, all the way to the 20th one. And so that would equal 60 quarters. So that one is our answer. Okay, so we've got an inequality and we want to get rid of these negatives. Remember, your goal is always to get the variable by itself. And so what's keeping our variable from being by itself is this -3. And you get rid of negatives with positives. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. These are going to cancel out because -3 and +3 cancel out, leaving just y. My symbol's not going to change. So right away, I can tell that can't be my answer and that can't be my answer because they both have greater than or equal to signs. Now, -7, +3, that's different signs, so we have to find the difference. And there's more negatives, so it's going to be -4. And so 10 would be if we were adding them, but that would have to be same signs, and it's not. So our answer right here is C. Okay, on this one, we've got an equation. You see all this scenario, this real world scenario, and that can kind of help you, but really, they gave you the equation. So it really doesn't even matter what the scenario is about because we have the equation 3.5 plus p equals 7.75. So if we see addition happening in the problem, we need to do subtraction to cancel that out. So I'm going to subtract 3.5 from both sides. And unfortunately, the way this showed up, it's all on a different line, but you get the idea because the 3.5 and the -3.5, those are going to cancel out, leaving just p. And then we have to do some subtraction. So 7.75 minus 3.5. And we always have to line up our decimal points when we're subtracting or adding with decimals. And so I had to add in a placeholder 0. 5 minus 0 is 5. 7 minus 5 is 2. Our decimal point comes straight down. And then 7 minus 3 is 4. So P is equal to 4.25. If you were to get, some people got answers that were 10 point something and 11 point something. But if you read the scenario, the whole board, the total length of the board was this long. So how could a smaller piece, because it says it was a smaller piece, be longer than the whole board was? So you know you need to be getting a number that's smaller than 7.75. This is the last question on the review. So it says, which graph below shows the solution of the following inequality? So I'm going to solve it by doing the opposite thing that it shows. So I'm going to get rid of the -4 by adding 4 to both sides. That's going to leave me with just m on that side. M is less than, and then here we have different signs. Different signs, we find the difference, which is 2, and there's more positives. So m is less than 2. Okay, first thing I see is that the symbol is pointing me to the left, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these two that are going to the right. And then the only difference between C and D is the circle. One is closed, one is open. My symbol here does not have a line, so it does not need a mouth guard. So I'm going to get rid of C, and D would be my answer. Okay, email me if you have any questions.